it's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State.
No more.
Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe. Phoenix has the foul, and a pinnacle ball from.
You work on that shot. You work on that shot.
It back to Gosses. Barron across now. Kane. Say River. They score. Raymond. Bob Johnson and throw, and it's caught by St. Greg for a first down.
No more.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. And away we go. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, I originally really was going to talk primarily NFL. And we will talk NFL. But the Detroit Tigers today won another game. They are, I want to say, at least a half a game ahead in the second wild card spot over the Kansas City Royals. And right now I'm watching the Baltimore Orioles playing the New York Yankees. It's no score. Game just started. But I was looking at it and just looking at how the Orioles have been playing as of late. I just saw today they DFA'd Eloy Jimenez, someone who they traded for. So that's never a good sign when someone that you gave up assets or asset for, and you're like, we would rather not have him on the team. And I think right now, as it stands in the second wildcard spot, we would actually play the Orioles. And how absolutely ironic and just hilarious would it be is if the Tigers play in both situations, wherever the Tigers end up playing, it's going to be funny. But like, if they play the Orioles, and it's, I believe the wild card is a 3-game set, and they lose a game to Tarek Skubal, who was rumored to be going to Baltimore. There were all the, what kind of packages were the Orioles had to put and then to lose your World Series potential team to the guy that you were rumored to have been trading for. I mean, it'd be very ironic. And also ironic on the other end of, idiots like me and many other fans talking about how, if the Orioles put up a package, you should probably consider it based on where the team was at. I got to say, you usually don't, when you sell in baseball, or really in any sport, usually you don't get better. But, excuse me. Usually you don't get better. In the Tigers case, however, you just do. I can't explain it. Also, I realize I'm starting to sweat here because of the light. I'm going to put the fan on because little fun factoid for you. I still don't have AC. The guy came in yesterday and was like, oh, actually, we got to order another part. And I was like, when is that going to come? I have no idea. What do you do for a living exactly? It's like the line from oh my gosh, what's the name of the movie? I can't think of the name of the movie, but what exactly is it that you do here? That movie. It's a Mike Judge movie. I can't think of the name. Whatever. Anyway, it's irrelevant. Welcome to BS Sports. This is quite the introduction. We're back. We got a great show. Great show. Obviously, we got to talk NFL, college football. We're going to talk about the Tigers. That'll be probably near the end of the show as we get a better idea of how the Orioles are doing here in their game. But we got to talk NFL. We got to talk Lions. We got to talk all the fun things. Magic number 5. That's right. Now, okay, this is going to sound really stupid. What is the magic number 5? What does that refer to? What do we I saw that on the broadcast. I was like, does that mean like how many wins we got to get? Because we only got 6 games. So we got to win 5 out of 6. That's pretty difficult. Is it like the amount of games we got to get ahead? Or is that the amount of games left? I think that's right. Yeah, that's actually, I'm stupid. That's the amount of games left. I figured it out. Right on the own. Red Wings preseason starts tomorrow. That's right. On the road against Chicago. I don't think that's on TV, though. I want to say the Friday night preseason game should be on TV. I could be wrong on that, though, because I know the Tigers are playing Friday night, obviously. So either way. I don't know why that air has a scent. I guess it's like the water is like room temperature now in the cooling fan. Anyway, sorry, I ate pretty early, like not that long ago. So if I still have a little disgustingness in my throat, that's why. But no, we got a great show. We're gonna unpack a lot. And look, the headliner of the show, the title of the show, we need to stop putting the Cowboys on TV. We just need to stop. All right? Just stop putting them on TV. All right? I don't want to hear again, I'm sorry. I'm destroying everybody's ears. I don't want to hear about markets. I don't want to hear about history. I don't want to hear about big brands and Jared's. I don't want to hear it. All right? First of all, we already have to hear Tom Brady lull us all to sleep as his color commentary seems to be more and more unpopular, not only for the way that it's been rolled out and screwing poor Greg Olson, but now he's basically the Cowboys guy. And next week, they finally have a game without the Cowboys because the Cowboys play on Thursday night. So, in case you were sick of the Cowboys, we're going to get them on Amazon Prime on Thursday night. And, oh boy, you know who they're playing? That's right, the New York Giants. So possibly the two most unlikable teams right now from both a quality of team, because both these teams stink, and a annoyingness of how often we see them. And again, in both cases, you got the big New York market, so you see a lot of Giants games, and then the Cowboys are that times a million. But my question is, what did people expect? Like, realistically, what did people expect from the Cowboys? They didn't do anything in the offseason. Their offseason was paying CeeDee Lamb and paying Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott, boy, oh boy, you look a lot like Tony Romo to me at this point. You look a lot like Tony Romo doing a whole lot of nothing, but getting this reputation like you're some top 5 quarterback in the league. Dak Prescott, I'm sorry, you could say, oh, well, they almost came back. You know what that was? That was a team. That was two teams fighting for who wanted to lose more. Like, like the Ravens were like, you know what? We don't really want to go on another playoff run. We don't want to go to the AFC Championship. That was too much struggle. We embarrassed ourselves too much. We don't want to do that anymore. So they were like, you know what? Here's a 28-3 lead. Here, you go ahead, take it, Dallas, take it. It's yours. I think it was 28-3. I don't remember. That game was on during the Lions game, so I wasn't watching. And then Dallas almost does it. And then at the very last minute, they're like, you know what? Actually, we don't want to win. Dallas has yet to win a home game, by the way. AT&T Stadium. Everybody goes there during a tornado because there's no chance of touchdown there. That's for sure. Like that. I'm just sick of it. And you know what else it is? It's Mike McCarthy. Look at the thumbnail of this show. What exactly is it that you do here? What does he do? Like, do players get better under him? Not really. They get about as good as they were. CeeDee Lamb, maybe. Micah Parsons, maybe. I don't. Dak Prescott, basically the same. I mean, like guys don't get better. They stay exactly where they are. And where they are is just simply not good enough. And Jerry Jones is, on crack cocaine basically half the time because you don't know if his brain is even operating functionally with the kinds of teams that he puts out. And you know what makes me just even more upset about it is that we have to watch it. And look, naturally, I had to, quote unquote. The Cowboys beat the Browns, and that was awful. That game was terrible. And last week, and the week after that, it was, oh my gosh, what was the game? Wasn't it Cowboys Saints? Yeah, it was Cowboys Saints, where the Saints knocked the doors off of them. And then this week, you got Cowboys Ravens, or this past week, you had Cowboys Ravens, and the Ravens knocked the doors off of them. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. This is basically half joking. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants on Thursday night don't just knock the doors off of them. Because basically the Cowboys are just that. They're just a brand. And I talked about this last year when the Cowboys got, beaten to dust by the Packers in the wild card. It's like, this team is not real. This team is not a real football team. This is all just pandering to, it's like the idea of the Cowboys. It's like, you don't have Tom Landry. You don't have Troy Aikman. You don't have, any of the all-time great Cowboys. You don't have Jimmy Johnson. You have nothing. You have, it's like the Yankees, except at least the Yankees have won something in this century. All the Cowboys have done has been play on Thanksgiving and win the division every so often and have below average quarterback play most of the time. Because I can't wait for, by the time Dak moves on and and people are going to look back and be like, wow, I mean, Dak actually was a little overrated. You think so? You think he wasn't just like Tony Romo, who was the exact same way, by the way? Some late round pick that found his way into Dallas and was able, or I believe actually Tony Romo might have been undrafted. I could be wrong about that. But either way, some no name who manages to, put together maybe one or two like solid seasons where people are like, oh my gosh, this guy's good. He's going to bring back. And then what do? Here, I'll tell you. That's what they do. They're a dial tone. And we got to put them on national television. I'm sick of it. I'm speaking for America. I'm speaking for America. Cowboys should be
No more.
No more Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how Jerry Jones is able to rig it this way, because if you talk to any NFL fan, they will tell you they don't want to watch the Cowboys. Like every so often, sure, you can put the Cowboys on. I'm not saying you can't, you got to banish them like they're like, I don't know, they're like Carolina or something. Just don't put them on they can't be America's game of the week every week. They just can't. All right? They can't be a primetime game every single week. Like, trying to think. They were on national television in week 1, right? National television in week 2. National television on week 3. They're going to be national television. That's 4 weeks. And they are a losing team. And frankly, they probably won't. There's a very good chance that they don't make the playoffs. Just based on the way that they're playing, there's a good chance that Mike McCarthy doesn't have a job by the time Christmas rolls around. It's not the same thing as like them playing on Thanksgiving. I'm fine. All right. That's a tradition. It's like the Lions playing on Thanksgiving, right? It's the same thing. I'm fine with it. It's once a year. People can get annoyed with it. People can get upset with it, but at least it's a rule, right? It's like, okay, this is just what's going to look like. Everyone expects it. It's what it is. Whereas, every other week, I mean, please, I'm thinking, before we just get into things, because I'm just going on a rant here. Week 1, all right? The Sunday matchups, okay? So we got Dallas and Cleveland. That was, I want to say, the 4 o'clock game, right? Other 4 o'clock game windows, let me see. You had Washington and Tampa Bay. That was kind of mid. But you could switch around some of these. I mean, heck, Arizona, Buffalo. Like, are those 2 massive markets? No. But that game was far more entertaining than Dallas beating the doors off of Deshaun Watson. And then you go week 2. Let's see. All right. They're playing. That was the 1 o'clock slate for them, right? So you got, I mean, frankly, the Tampa Bay Detroit game might have been a little bit more interesting. The San Fran Minnesota game was slow scoring, but still probably pretty exciting. Obviously you had Cincinnati and Kansas City. That was on the late window. Like, I just like why the Cowboys? Like, why anybody but the Cowboys is what I'm getting at. All right, going down the list here on week 3 as well. I mean, that was Cowboys, Ravens. That was the 4 o'clock slate. I mean, again, Lions, Arizona, I think was a much more interesting game. San Fran, LA. That was a way more interesting game. We'll talk about that later. But the point of me saying all this, point of me getting at all this, is that the Cowboys continue to torment America, and I am campaigning. I will run for president just to get the Cowboys off of every national broadcast. Just stop. We need a full ban for like a year, and then you can go back, and then you can mix them back in. We're sick of it. I hate looking at stupid Mike McCarthy's face, and I hate looking at their ugly ass uniforms. Some of their uniforms are actually kind of nice, but I just hate it. I hate seeing the shots of Jerry Jones looking like he is moments away from actually just dying. I can't stand it, and I can't stand having to listen to Tom Brady talk about it either. So that's my rant. That's my rant about the Cowboys. I don't even know if I want to clip this as a segment. I was so angry. I mean, I was happy when they lost, but I was angry at the fact that they were on TV. That was my rage. So anyway, I'm gonna read some of these comments. So let's see. Tigers can get into the playoffs without winning 5 games, but the point of the magic number is to fully guarantee it without any tiebreakers or something else to keep the team out. Okay, so it is 5 wins. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, if you win the five in a row, then you get in. That makes sense. Okay. America's team is the Lions. That's correct. That is correct. To be fair, like actually to that point, like there's a reason that the Lions are getting a lot more primetime games this year because I mean, you go back even last year at the primetime games, like a lot of them were just really good games. And maybe this is Lions fan me talking, out of my behind, but I mean, like you had obviously the wild card and the divisional round games in the playoffs, those were great games. And even the NFC Championship game, that was a great game despite the results not being what I wanted. The Cowboys Lions game, I know that we're talking about the Cowboys. That was a great game. The Chiefs Lions week 1, that's probably I really like this past year's week 1 as well, but that was one of the better week 1 games in a very long time at that point. A lot of them actually had been pretty unbalanced. But yeah, there's a reason that the Lions are getting a lot more. And frankly, other teams do deserve something of a spotlight. I have far more interest in what's going on in Houston or in what's going on in, Atlanta than I do in what's going on in Dallas. At least those teams, if Atlanta's gonna lose, or if Houston's gonna lose, at least I'm going into it and I'm getting something new. I'm not getting Mike McCarthy being a stupid coach and having his team go down 25 points or whatever many it was at the half, and then pulling some fake ass comeback. Like, at least I don't have to deal with that, right? Minnesota's an interesting storyline. Houston's an interesting story. Yeah, heck, Chicago's an interesting storyline, and I hate the Bears. I hate Minnesota too, but I hate the Bears even more. But at least all of those teams are far more interesting for presenting the brand of the NFL. So yeah, I'm sure Cowboys fans are going to be very happy about that. But hey, most of you guys probably have never been alive since the Cowboys won or went in a run in the playoffs. So just let it be known the Lions have been on a playoff run more recently than the Cowboys. Just want to let Cowboys fans know. I also, I guess we both won the division last year, but hey, well, if we win the division this year, it'll definitely be more recently than the Cowboys. So anyway, with that, let's see. I guess we could just jump into the Lions, or we could just jump into some of the other storylines. I suppose I'll start with the Lions, just because that's I think more related to me and probably what the people want to hear. So we'll start Lions. All right. So Detroit really got away with one, and I don't mean this in a negative way. Everybody died, and we still got the win. Here's an interesting comment and a very, very insightful one. Lions dodged a bullet on the Sam Laporta, but Lee McNeil being out 4 games sucks. Tim Patrick promoted to the 53-man roster, and Frank Ragnow, man, he's his own worst enemy. I think you meant worst, so I read it as worst. Yeah, a lot of injuries coming out of this game. Frank Ragnow, he's going to be, I think, day to day or week to week. I can't remember. You already mentioned Lee McNeil. He's day to day. At least last I heard, you said 4 games. So maybe if there was an update on that. Sam Laporta, he's day to day. Brian Branch is day to day. Derek Barnes is week to week. Marcus Davenport out for the year. We really got beat up in this game, and that is concerning. However, the alleviating factor of all of this is we do have a Monday night game. So in that respect, we're not like we have a longer turnaround, right? And after this Monday night game, we have the bye week. And it's funny looking back and be like, oh man, we have this early bye week. This sucks. The schedule hates us. And it's like, oh, actually that early bye week might be our best friend because we're getting beat up very, very early. And we need this. Got put on the injured list. Oh, okay. So he's just put on the IL or the IR. Okay. So he's out 4 games. Now look, and the fact is, the Lions fan, Doomer Lions fans, I should say, are going to say this is the beginning of the end. And what I'll say is this. It's a week-to-week league, and everybody gets hurt. There is no such thing as going into an NFL game healthy. Because if you enter the NFL game healthy, guarantee you won't exit it healthy. I guarantee you. And there's no reason for us to have to rush guys like McNeil, like Laporta, and frankly like Ragnow. Because, look, we're a damn good football team. I care about them in December and January. I don't really care about them in the month of September and early October. Like, obviously, I want them to be healthy the whole time. I want to win every game by 30, right? I'm the biggest homer there is. I hope on Monday night they knock the doors off of Seattle. But I know it realistically, if I use my logic and my reason, I know that it's probably going to be, a close game because these are two NFL teams, and that's just what it is. Now, on the game itself, the defense, straight up, no jokes here. This is straight up one of the best defenses I've seen in a very long time for the Lions. And it's one of the best defenses in the league right now. And I don't think it's being talked about as much. This defense hasn't allowed more than 20 points a game. Just this past week, they held Kyler Murray to 207 yards in the air, 1 touchdown, 77 total rushing yards. That's the entire team. Leading rusher was Kyler Murray, by the way. So James Conner, did you even play? And Marvin Harrison Jr., the chosen one, the divine savior. He's a really good receiver, by the way. He was held to just 64 yards. Oh, and by the way, our first-round corner was the guy who locked him down for most of the game. Like, this defense is built. Like, Aaron Glenn deserves nothing but apologies and slander. Like all the slander that was given to him, he needs a written apology from everybody, myself included, in a way, because it had been basically 3 seasons where this defense was awful, where they were giving up big plays, where they were giving up yards, all of it. And last year, we kind of saw something of the signs of good things to come, especially near the end. But overall in the year, they couldn't run the ball. And now it's looking like they might even have struggle passing the ball. Because this might sound kind of stupid. The fact that Aiden Hutchinson was able to get a sack on Kyler Murray told me everything I need to know about this defensive line. Like, this defensive line, no shot in hell they would have been able to get to Kyler Murray last year. I mean, you saw it last year. They couldn't get to Mahomes. They couldn't get to Geno Smith. They barely could get to Brock Purdy, right? Like, but now it's like every single week they're getting to the quarterback. They can get to the quarterback multiple times, like they did against Tampa Bay. And I get that, to be fair to the reality of the situation, Hutch is going against a bunch of bums. No disrespect, but either way, the defense has been really impressive, and it's what won us this game, frankly. The offense did struggle. However, I feel a lot better actually about the offense than I think a lot of Lions fans might. Because, for one, 2 for 2 in the red zone. You got 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, or in the first half, and then you said, you know what? Try and beat us. Try and beat us. Because we scored 20 points, and that's all we need. That's all we need, because you're not getting to 20. And if you do get to 20, it's going to be in overtime. And then we're going to win like we did in LA. Right? Because you're not scoring more than 20 points on this defense. So, are we going to drop 40 bombs on teams? Yeah, we probably will at some point. Is it going to be every week? No. Are we going to drop 30 bombs on teams? Yeah. Is it going to be every week? Probably not. Guess what? With this defense, you don't have to. Because try to score in the end zone. Oops, you threw an interception to Kirby Joseph. Try to go for it on 4th down. Oops, Carlton Davis just stopped you a yard short. Try to run a trick play. Not going to happen. Try to run the ball to control the clock. You're not going anywhere. It's going to be 3rd and 5 at the most. Or at the least. Like, this defense is legit. And Aiden Hutchinson, credit to him, he's gotten better every season. He's going out right now. I don't know what the betting odds are, but he's got to be the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year right now. I mean, he leads the league in sacks. And by the league, I don't just mean players. I mean, like, teams. Or at least he did going into this week. I don't know if that's still the case. He's got, 6.5 on the year right now? Like, that's crazy, right? That we're talking, basically, he's averaging 2 sacks a game. And granted, that's a lot of it is from that Tampa Bay game, but still, the reality is what it is. Now, Jared Goff as well, credit to him. There was a lot of Lions fans oh my gosh, Jared Goff didn't play well. Jared Goff played perfectly fine. First of all, on ESPN, he's got 113 rating, if you value that at all. Jared Goff was 18 for 23, 199 yards, a couple of touchdowns and an interception. If that's not good, I'm sorry. Then I stink. I don't like, that's solid numbers. Is it, 400 yards? Is he getting you 50 fantasy points? No, but he's accurate. He's hitting his guys. He gave you all you needed, right? He won you the game with the run at the end, by the way. That was also kind of a fun thing. That, like, he's not blowing you this game. And again, your defense is good enough that even on that interception, what do they get out of it? They got Stugats. They got nothing. They got They got nothing but, the ball out of their hands, basically. That was what they got. And was there any particular, like David Montgomery had 105 yards on the ground. Great performance from him. Jahmyr Gibbs, 83 yards on the ground. Like this is when we can run the ball with efficiency and when we score 20-ish points, pretty good shot we win the game. And it doesn't matter if your quarterback is running around like he's a chicken with his head off, like Kyler Murray can do, or if your quarterback is, quick to get rid of the ball like Matthew Stafford was in week 1. Like all we need to do is get that minuscule amount of points, get a couple of really nice drives in there, really like put teams away early. Like this game, for all intents and purposes, was over at the half because they couldn't move down the field. It reminded me a little bit, actually, of that game against LA, against Las Vegas last year at home, and I was at that game. The offense was really struggling. Like they were settling for field goals. Drives were stifling out. You had the pick six. But the problem was Las Vegas couldn't get out of their own way. This was the same deal with Arizona. They could not move down the field. They just couldn't. They couldn't control the run, so they couldn't control the clock. And that was that. So the Lions closed the door on them. And obviously the injuries are what they are. I do have high hopes for, Monday night. I think that, again, that's a game that the Lions probably had circled because for whatever reason, Seattle has had our number for years. And I just, we're going to be wearing our black uniforms in this game. I don't know if that's going to have much of an actual effect, but I'm sure basically point is they're going to be in their A game. I really don't expect an ugly game on Monday night, prime time. Lions usually do perform in these games. I want to say since 2022, they've had a really good record in primetime games. And if you count a win for that Dallas game, which they absolutely should have had, then it's even better. But yeah, overall, the injuries are what they are. And I did see this comment here. Marcus Davenport, I was born with glass bones, paper skin. Every morning I break my arms, and every afternoon I break my legs. And I wake up with a heart attack. Yeah, unfortunately, Marcus Davenport going down. It sucks. But it tells me that, all right, the experiment failed. We tried it out with Marcus Davenport. Isaac Ukwu should get a chance, according to this comment here. Yeah, honestly, Ukwu, he was decent in the preseason, I want to say, right? Look, this administration, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they seem to really love their own guys, which is fine. They've got enough of their own guys to the point where I'm like, okay, you know what? If you like your own guy, fine. I'm good with it. I'm not gonna yell and scream. I'm not gonna, throw my hand. I'm not gonna, go like a banshee and yell at you for it. There were people last year who were crying for Chase Young, and well, that didn't quite work out. That didn't quite work out for San Francisco. So, do I expect them to really make moves at the trade deadline to address some of these injuries? I really don't know. We don't have as many assets to trade as I think we might think. But the right price, the right name, certainly I wouldn't be opposed to adding people. A Max Crosby would certainly be nice opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, he's a Eastern Michigan guy, but, I think he would love it here. I think he would fit right in. You want to talk about adding 2 Siberian cave trolls to your defensive line. You got Max Crosby on one end, Aiden Hutchinson on the other. Basically, some guy who really likes cheese and, Ritz crackers is going to destroy you. That was a white people joke, in case you didn't understand. Hard workers, those two. They're real lunch pail guys. But, yeah. So, either way, I guess I'm not all that concerned. And my focus has moved on to Seattle. So, that's it. That's all I got. We're on to Seattle. Monday night, gonna be a good show. So, fun stuff. Yeah, this to me is a good point. Ukwu showed out in the preseason, outperformed Houston and Matthew Betts. Yeah, what is James Houston is on a milk carton. I don't know where I've never seen a guy go from he was so I remember being hyped up about him because he was this unknown 7th round pick out of Jackson State, and he just comes in 22 and is just tearing. He's getting a sack a game. He's sacking Trevor Lawrence. He's sacking Josh Allen. He's sacking everybody. It's like every single game he's getting a sack. And then after he gets injured last year, just poof, he's gone. He was never there. I don't know. I mean, maybe that injury was much worse than it seemed. Obviously he came back at the end of the season. He was in the playoffs. He was there. But I don't know. I guess he just doesn't get a lot of playing time. Now, to be fair, Levi Onwuzurike as well. He's looked pretty solid. I saw a clip of him. He was getting triple teamed, basically, or not triple teamed, double teamed, but he barreled through. He barreled through both of them and just man, it was after the throw, but he managed to get to Kyler Murray. It's like, where did this come from? So maybe again, internal. Maybe Levi Onwuzurike steps it up and he's the guy opposite of Hutch or Josh Paschal or. I mean, we already mentioned Ukwu. Or either way, I guess Davenport wasn't really doing that much anyway. Not to put too fine of a point on it. It wasn't like he was getting a sack a game. And he was an experiment to begin with. He was a vet, so it was yeah, you respect that. But frankly, I don't know how big of an issue it'll be. And maybe 3-4 weeks from now, we'll have more of an idea of that once we get closer to the trade deadline. But right now, I'm not that concerned, especially I can't be concerned with the defense. I really just can't. When you're holding NFL teams to 20 or less points, I don't care who you're playing. You can play anybody. It's not easy to hold teams 20 points. Ask Las Vegas. Speaking of Las Vegas. So we got a lot of storylines here in the NFL that I want to talk about. And I was going to start with the Bears, but I actually just mentioned it. I'm going to talk about the Vegas Raiders and the Panthers. I don't know if there could be any more of a damning indictment on poor Bryce Young than this. Andy Dalton comes in, 30-some years old, vet of the league, known bum, if you will. Known not great quarterback. At this point, just a backup. He comes in, never played a game, never started a game for Carolina. Hadn't started a game in at least last year. I don't know if he ever did start a game last year. Hadn't played in Carolina. Hadn't played a new coach. Plenty of new personnel. He goes in and drops a 300 bomb and a 30 bomb of points on the Las Vegas Raiders. And look, I'm sorry if you're a Bryce Young truther, you need to stop watching football. You just need to stop. Bryce Young stinks. I don't know how else to put it. I know this is, adding insult to injury, but there is no semblance of a good quarterback in Bryce Young. Andy Dalton comes in to his job, okay, and what does he do? He balls out. So all the people saying, "Oh, Bryce Young, he's got no protection. He's got no help. His coaches hate him, or his receivers aren't good." Deontay Johnson looked pretty good. Chuba Hubbard looked pretty solid in the backfield. Xavier Legette, the guy they drafted, 42 yards on a couple of catches for him. Adam Thielen, 3 catches for 40 yards. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And it's not the defense held them 22 points, the Raiders. So it's on Bryce Young. And at this point, Bryce, if you're the Panthers, let him go. Even frankly, if you got to cut him, then cut him. Because he is that bad. If you could manage to get a trade for him, then you do it in a heartbeat. Not even a question. All right? I don't care if they're giving you a 6th-round pick. It's better than Bryce Young. Bryce Young has 0 value to your team. He adds negative value. You are better off. You have a better chance of having a competent season of development for guys like Xavier Legette and for the coaching staff to get accustomed and get some sort of a culture going in Carolina than if you keep Bryce. If you keep Bryce Young around, it's basically saying we're okay with losing. Because there is no way in hell that he is going to come back and play quarterback for them. After the way Andy Dalton was able to look, Andy Dalton could have 2 garbage games after this. There's no way you're going back to Bryce Young. Because if you suck with Andy Dalton, you're going to suck with Bryce Young. So you might as well take a risk and have Andy Dalton be able to come in and occasionally give you a 300-yard game or something comparable to that. So just end it. If you're Carolina, just end it with Bryce Young. Find a trade partner. Hell, trade him to the Raiders. I'm sure they'd be interested. They're a stupid organization. They'd be interested in taking on that carcass of a quarterback. So yeah. Right now, Carolina should be interested in. Right now, Carolina should be watching Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, and some of the other heck, start watching. What's his name? Kyle McCord. Start watching him. I don't watch anybody other than Bryce Young. Start looking at college quarterbacks and start over. Yeah, right. Only the Raiders can beat the Ravens and then lose to the Panthers. At home, they beat the Raiders, or they beat the Ravens on the road, and then they lose at home. I don't understand it. Yeah, also on the Derek Barnes thing, that's also kind of sucks. I think Anzalone will be back. It was just concussion protocol, and from what I was hearing last week, it sounded like he was doing pretty okay. So I think he'll probably be back for Monday night, hopefully. But that's just my thoughts at least. But anyway, moving along from Carolina and that. So I've heard some conflicting reports on this. So I didn't watch the game, obviously, between the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts. And look, all things considered, Caleb Williams, you look at just the box score, you're like, wow, 363 yards, a couple of touchdowns, pretty good. And then you look at the amount of times he threw the ball. 52 times he threw the ball. 52. They ran the ball 28 times. That's almost half the amount of times that they ran the ball. And one of those was Caleb Williams running it. So I don't think that was a design. Like, if I'm Chicago, am I in full-on panic? No, obviously not. Caleb Williams can get better, and he obviously will get better. But this is not what I was advertised. At least if I'm Chicago. Okay? This is now the third week in a row where, I mean, for one, Caleb Williams does not win you the game, because I don't want to hear about week one. All right? That was not a Caleb Williams win. That was a win in spite of Caleb Williams. So you've got 3 weeks in against, let's see, who did they play last week? They played the Texans. That was a tough game, to be fair. But week one against Titans, that should have been an easy start for the rookie. The Colts, you thought, I mean, it put up big numbers, but it doesn't matter because you lost the game. And I'm not trying to bury Caleb Williams here. I'm just saying, like, we were advertised this guy was the next big thing. And we'll get to him later. But this start and this situation reminds me very much of what happened to the last quarterback that was here. Where Justin Fields comes in, he starts, and it's bad, it's ugly, they're not winning games, and then they fire the coach because it's the coach's fault, right? We need a new coach, and then they get the new coach, and he can't jive with it. It's like you're like in a hamster wheel if you're Chicago, because you better hope that Matt Eberflus is gonna figure it out. And I'll just give you a hint: he's not gonna figure it out. I got no evidence that this guy knows anything about how to be the head coach of an NFL team in any level. Like, the way that Justin Fields didn't get better under him, the way that, his teams overall have just been bad since he's taken over. I got no evidence to believe that this guy has any belief. like if I'm Caleb Williams, how can I not feel like I'm basically in the same spot that Justin Fields was in? And that's not to say that he's going to be Justin Fields, because Justin Fields was terrible to begin with, and he shouldn't have ever been drafted in the first round anyway. But he was, and that was the Bears' mistake to make. But look, they got a tough game, I believe, this week. Hold on, let me just double check. They got the Rams this week at home. The Rams are going to be injured, okay? But they just came off of a really nice win against San Francisco. And I'll just give you a hint, all right? San Francisco is probably better than you. And they beat that team at home, to be fair. So that should be an interesting game, but it's going to be a tough game because it's going to be two desperate teams, and every week everybody's desperate. I know that. But Caleb Williams is going to have to learn really quick. And all I heard during the offseason was how great their weapons are going to be. Cole Kmet, Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. All I heard was how great that was. And so the fact that it's starting slow to me is not evidence that, it's a lack of talent. It's evidence to me that the coach was completely overlooked in all the estimation. Everybody was talking high on the Bears, talking this team was going to be a Super Bowl team. And yes, there were some people who said this. They certainly did not consider coaching because it's ugly. That's what I'll say about that. On that point though, with Kyler Murray or Kenneth Walker running, the last time we played them, Kenneth Walker didn't do much of anything. I think he ran for 60 yards, something like that. He didn't run for a lot of yards. We managed to hold him pretty well. So I'm just not that afraid of most running backs against this defense. Are they going to have their moments? Yeah, they will. If you're a really good running back, you're going to be able to run on any team. But I'm not. That's not the primary fear for me, for the most part. But that's just sort of that. I got to talk about Minnesota, right? I mean, are they just real at this point? I mean, you're 3-0. It's hard to fake that. What I will say is, it may be hard to fake it, but teams do fake it. That's true. So I still do not believe that Sam Darnold is the truth. All right. Did he have a great game? Yes, he did. Is he leading the league in passing touchdowns? Yes, he is. Is this reality? No, it is not. This is all fugazi. All right. This is all an illusion. Right. I simply cannot believe that this team is going. This is a very well coached team. That's what I'll say. It's a team that is very well coached, very disciplined. They're going to play good ball. They're going to play tough, and they have a lot of talent, elite talent. Any team that's got Justin Jefferson on it is not going to be an easy offense to stifle. And any team that's got the defensive coordinator in Brian Flores like they do, I'm not going to mess with them. But I don't think this is a very good team. I really just don't. I remember last year, near the beginning, the Vikings kind of had a little bit of this weird energy as well, and it kind of fell off there. I guess to me, it's when you have a good coach and when you have superstar, elite, amazing talents like Justin Jefferson on your team, you're not gonna go 2-3 or 2-15. You're just not. You're probably gonna win a decent amount of games. Probably more than most people expected, myself included, given the quarterback situation. Because he thought maybe Sam Darnold was going to cost them more games, and so far he is not. But water finds its level. That's just what I'll say about that. So I'm not at this point particularly, on board with Minnesota, but they are who they are. New Orleans snaps back to reality. So at least I had this, right? So New Orleans snaps back to reality. Derek Carr has a bad game, needless to say. I mean, I don't want to beat up on the poor guy too much, but he throws a game-losing interception. It just feels just like nature is healed. We're returning to where we once were, and Derek Carr is just not that good. And I mean, the Eagles might also not be all that good because that game should not have been all that close. But neither team scored any touchdowns until the fourth quarter. So. And the Eagles didn't score until the fourth quarter entirely. So if you had to watch this game, I'm just going to say I'll pray for you. That's what I'll say. Right. Yeah, I guess this is on the Minnesota. This is sort of my point. Sam Darnold is not some unknown guy who people are just getting beat by, or people are just they don't know how to play against them. It's the same thing with Josh Dobbs. It's the same thing with Nick Mullins. At some point, reality has a say in the NFL. At some point, the shoe does fall off and the clock strikes midnight, whatever other analogy you want to use. Sam Darnold is past any particular prime that he could have had. could he have, some really nice games? Could he even have a pretty good record with Minnesota? Yeah, he probably could. I mean, he was a good quarterback at USC. There's a reason he got taken so high. But unfortunately, once you kind of lose those years of development, of those years of learning, you're kind of playing, you're swimming uphill, basically, or you're swimming against a current. So I guess it's just difficult for me to believe in them. I already talked about the Cowboys. We're not going to talk about that. The Rams stunned San Fran. That was a little shocking. I don't have much to add on that game because, again, didn't get a chance to watch that one. But San Fran without Debo and without Christian McCaffrey, it's not great. It's not great. And I mean, I'm not saying this to totally discredit them. It's just reality. If any team lost two of their best offensive players and two leaders on the team, of course they're going to be worse. So, yeah. But shocking, though, that LA was able to pull that off. I didn't think the Rams had really any juice left with the amount of injuries they've suffered. And see, that's the proof, right? Like, Rams going into this game, they were injury-riddled. Nobody believed they were going to win this game. Probably that was a game that broke a lot of people's pick'ems. And what do? They go out and they win the game. And a rookie goes in and kicks the game-winning field goal. Who would have thought that? Just a few more games to talk about before we get into it. Before we move on to college football, I should say. KC defense just holds off Captain Kirk. Now, was there a little bit of shenanigans? Probably a little bit of shenanigans. Probably just a little bit of shenanigans. But the defense, KC, looks good. And it just feels a lot like last year with Kansas City, where offensively speaking, it's going to be ugly at times. They're probably going to lose some games where people are like, what the heck is even going on? Like, how is Patrick Mahomes looking the way that he is? But their defense is going to keep them in games. So they're going to win games like this. They're going to win ugly games, even games that people will say there's no way they don't deserve to win that game, whatever. But they're going to do it. They're going to do it. Oh, meanwhile, by the way, they just showed a clip. The Miami Marlins up 1-0 over the Twins. There we go. There we go, boys. Unfortunately, the Orioles are up 1-0 over the Yankees. So, all right. Couple more Monday night. Just want to talk about these games briefly. All right. Trevor Lawrence, I'm done with you. All right. Throw him away. Throw him in the garbage. This guy stinks. This guy is one of the most overhyped, overrated quarterbacks in the history of the Jags. Let me put something into perspective for you for Jacksonville. You had 2 first overall picks, and you somehow managed to do bad at both of them. This is like the Tigers did. I mean, I don't mean to dog on the Tigers because they're having they're right now they're in the playoff chase and all that. But Spencer Torkelson and Casey Mize, for all intents and purposes, are kind of busts, right? Like they might have more time, but it is what it is. Like Trevor Lawrence, this guy was posed as surefire, guaranteed. He's going to work out. He's a generational talent. Next Tom Brady, next Peyton Manning, even. And basically, we got about half a season worth of that. like we got about half a season where he turned it on, and outside of that, he's been awful. Like not average, not okay, awful, completely and utterly awful. So sucks for Jacksonville. I do like the Jaguars, and I just love that. I would love to see the Jags succeed, but oh my gosh, I mean, I don't know what possessed them to take Trayvon Walker, but I will always love them for that. Because I'm going to be honest. Has Trayvon Walker done anything of note? Like, I'm just looking at this box score. Did he even play? Like, practically? I'm not even seeing. Okay, there he is. Trayvon Walker, okay, he had 4 total tackles. One of them was solo, and one of them was for a loss. Hold on. Can I look at Trayvon Walker's stats? He had 10 sacks last year. Wow. Talk about nobody. I don't think anybody even noticed that, including me. I didn't know that. He had 10 sacks last year. Okay. All right. That's okay. He's got 2 sacks this year. he just seems like he's never there. He's just like this unknown figure. People probably forget that he was the number 1 overall pick. But yeah. And Cincy, I'm talking about them as well. Cincinnati and Washington played a game. First of all, Washington, you might have a quarterback. Jaden Daniels looks legit. He looks absolutely lights out. He's easily the best looking rookie quarterback right now. So he's probably, as of obviously, 3 weeks into it, running away with rookie of the year. Outside of maybe some of the receivers or DBs and such. But offensive rookie of the year, at least, for sure. I think right now he's front runner. Joey B, he played a great game. Joe Burrow, I like this Bengals team. I don't know what to do with you. Like, you have a really solid quarterback. Joe Burrow is legit. He can be that guy. And they just never win. They can't win. They're incapable of winning. It's the defense. It's not scoring touchdowns on drives and settling for field goals. And I don't want to say that's totally on Joe Burrow, but it's at least tacitly on Joe Burrow in a way. Like, you got to be able to finish drives. But that ultimately, I think that is more on coaching than it is on the quarterback itself, barring the particular plays involved. If, the quarterback throws a bad throw or what have you. But I just took a look. 4-0 Miami. Oh, man. Jeez Louise. Minnesota. I bet they're just happy that the Vikings are having a good start, because they're having a nightmare of a baseball season right now. They're having an absolute nightmare of a season. There was a point where they were winning the division. That's rough, buddy. That's really rough. Couldn't happen to a nicer team. But yeah, so that's basically the NFL week. We'll talk about week 4 as we get to the picks at the end of the show. So we'll transition over outside of that to college football. All right. So full disclosure, again, I really didn't watch a whole lot of college football this weekend. Mostly on account of me being out of town, and then also spraining my ankle. I'm just letting you know. I didn't watch a whole lot of college football. I caught some of the highlights, caught some of the storylines. That's basically what I'm here for. Yeah, Twins fans basically checked out for the Vikings or the Wild. Honestly, and I don't want to get on too much of a tangent here, but you want to talk about miserable fan bases. Minnesota is really bad, like historically bad. Like, the Wild have been awful their entire existence. The Twins are I believe the only team in Minnesota to have won a championship. The current teams. Obviously, you have the Minnesota Lakers or I don't know if the North Stars ever won in Minnesota. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they did not. But the Timberwolves, they might be good. I like the Timberwolves. I think they're a nice, fun young team. Anthony Edwards and some of the guys there. They're a fun team, at least. And the Vikings also have never won a Super Bowl. So it's rough. It'd be rough to be a Minnesota fan. Like, at least as a Detroit fan, like, maybe not me personally, but there are people, like, my grandfather has seen every team in the city won at least a championship. Even the Lions, he was alive to see them win in '57. He was at the game. to be like that. That's not that the NFL championship matters as much anymore, but it is what it is. You can't really say the same with Minnesota. You really can't. But yeah. Anyway, so all right. So let's start with obviously the one that most is important to me, at least. Michigan State falls on the road to Boston College. So again, defense. I'll compliment the defense. Defense looks impressive overall. Not giving up too many points. But next week, you know what? It's gonna be a write-off week. Anything you do on defense, I'm going to write it off. Right? It's gonna be forgotten. Right? You're playing Ohio State. They're probably gonna destroy you. I'm gonna write it off. All right? We can just ignore it. All right? I'm gonna give you a pass because it's Ohio State. They're a national championship contender. So we're gonna write off whatever they do to you. All right. That's if you can look competent, right, for like a few series, or if you can make them sweat a little bit, even early on, I'll be okay with that. But overall, we can strike it from the record, basically. But the main storyline, I think, about this game was Aiden Childs. And there's a lot of talk about Aiden Childs right now from a lot of Spartan fans. And I want to have some, like, I want to add a little dose of reality / just being as fair and as honest as I think I can be. So, for one, if you want to say Aiden Childs cost us the game, that would not be incorrect. He threw the game-losing interception, for one, and also the myriad of turnovers and lack of touchdowns in the second half. That is at least tacitly on him. However, the only reason we were in the game is because of Aiden Childs. Like that's sort of the weird anomaly, right? Like K'Ron Lynch-Adams ran for just 61 yards on 15 carries. He had an average of 4 yards a carry. That's not good. And Aiden Childs, on the other hand, ran the ball not deliberately on all of these, but he ran it 9 times for 57 yards, 6.3 yards a carry, and a rushing touchdown, and he threw for 241 yards, including a couple of really nice like dots that set you up in really great spots, as well as some really nice conversions. Like the fact is, for whatever it's worth, Aiden Childs is going to make these kinds of mistakes because he's a freshman quarterback playing in an offense that, frankly, needs for him to be practically perfect to win games. Like it's every game I think is going to be a little bit of a roller coaster with him. But I'll take this. I'll take upside and potential and some amount of fun over the Noah Kim experience, over the Peyton Thorne. Ask an Auburn fan how they feel about Peyton Thorne. Like, Aiden Childs is making the kinds of mistakes that I expect I was going to say a rookie, a freshman quarterback to make. He's throwing the balls into double coverage. He's missing guys that are open. He's turning the ball over in general, right? Untimely turnovers. Not living up to, not being able to drive down the field. Stuff like that. Like that is par for the course for a freshman quarterback. And frankly, given the circumstance in terms of weapons that he had this game, I thought he was pretty good at mixing up who he was giving the ball to. Jack Velling had 6 catches for 77 yards. That was probably his best game. Montorie Foster Jr., 4 catches for 87 yards. You even had 3 catches from Mosiah Johnson for 59 yards. And also, we might not even be talking about a loss if Nate Carter doesn't have stone hands and he catches the damn ball. And instead of, just getting 3 points, we get, 7. And now it's a different game, right? It's just like we have to kind of let him develop in this situation. And it is trial by fire. And there's some people who are saying we're ruining his development. I really don't think that. I just don't. There's no circumstance where this isn't what was going to happen. And I think Childs knows it. And I don't there's no evidence for me, at least when I look at it, that he is, miserable out there, or that the coaches are leaving him out on an island. I think the coaches are, confident in him. They're trying to help him gain confidence by being confident in him to go down and march for a score. And yeah, that's another good point. The Lynch-Adams second half turnover completely flipped the game. Like, it completely flipped the entire feeling of the game. You don't do that, you might at least eliminate some time off the clock and hold them back for that lack of 3 points, right? Like, this game was a lot closer than I think. It was close the whole time. It really was. And the defense, credit to them, they kept us in the game. And unfortunately, Aiden Childs was just unable to really finish drives in the second half. He just couldn't do it. But this is what I expected a little bit overall. And I know this isn't me trying to do sour grapes or me doing, let's try to look at the bright side. We did cover. Like this, we were, I think 5.5 underdogs, or something like that. 4.5 underdogs, and we covered the spread. Like, I'm trying to not just be totally doomerish about Aiden Childs and about this situation. I get it. It's not good. Like, it's not where he's supposed to be. And everybody, including Aiden Childs, will tell you it's not where it's supposed to be. But what are we supposed to do? Like, are we supposed to put in Tommy Schuster? And for what? So that you want to talk about destroying a kid's confidence, go put in a player who has no future here. Like, that'll destroy his confidence. I'll tell you that much. I think that if we had a lot of the weapons, I think if we had Jaron Glover and if we had Nick Marsh, who is really starting to grow some chemistry with Aiden Childs, I think we have those guys. We could be talking about a different story. Because instead of having to throw to the Isaiah Johnson, and that's no disrespect to Isaiah Johnson, he's been all right at the very least. And as no disrespect either to Montorie Foster Jr., who's also been a decent receiver as well. Like, it's going to be ugly sometimes. And I know that it's not what Spartan fans, even myself included, want to hear. But I do still think that we have the potential to get, 5 more wins out of the season. Now, next week, again, Ohio State, we can just write that one off. Again, just write it off. It's like a tax, right? Just write it off. It didn't even happen. It's like donating to charity. Just write it off. Just write it off. Nobody's gonna remember it, right? And obviously, I don't like the result. And watching the game, I was frustrated. And in the moment, you're disappointed. But actually, it's weird. I went to bed that night, and maybe it was because I was already kind of in physical pain due to my sprained ankle, or just the day itself was just kind of a weird day. I guess I didn't go to bed like so distraught. I didn't go to bed like depressed about it. I went to bed thinking, well, that was a tough loss. It was a game that we could have won, that we should have won. But that's football a lot of the time. And I'll take the way this team has looked through 4 weeks over the way the team looked the last couple of years. I really will, because it just feels different. I know that's cheap. Feelings are cheap. I can't prove feelings. But any Spartan fan, and frankly anybody who is at least somewhat honest observer, I think, can say that this is certainly a better coached team than the last couple of years. And even here's another point. I just thought of this as I was just sort of rambling here. You know what I didn't see? Penalties. Remember when that was a problem? We had 3 total penalties this whole game. Things can get better in a hurry. They can. Now, Ohio State, again, write it off. We already talked about it. But after that, what is it? We got Oregon. That's also a game that potentially we could just write that one off as well. But Iowa and Michigan, I think those are 2 games that Michigan State can play it close and maybe make it interesting, right? I mean, if Michigan is still running with Alex Orji, that game could be a very low-scoring affair, which means it's anybody's ball game as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, it's going to be on the road, and that's not going to be easy. But I'm just giving you what I'm looking at. And Purdue is not good. Rutgers is not good. Illinois might be good. Indiana might be good. I'm just saying, this is like when we said that we could win 8 games, it means we were going to lose 4, right? And right now, we could see the other 2 right in front of us. This could be a 3-game losing streak right in front of us, right? Hopefully, that's the extent of it. But yeah, overall though, again, disappointed in the result. But this team is not going to go down without a fight, and I'd rather go down swinging than lose the game in the second quarter, right? That just, to me, that's a lot more interesting football, and it at least shows that this coaching staff has something of a vision. It has something of a plan. And it's going to take some time. It really will. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. So we got no choice. We're in for the ride. And maybe, a couple of years from now, I'll be calling for Jonathan Smith's head. Hopefully not. But it is what it is. We also controlled the time of possession, by the way. So we had the ball longer. It was just, you didn't win the game. Fumbles what started the downfall, IMO. Even if we could have gotten a field goal on that first drive, a 10-point lead would have made it better for us. Than the Boston College momentum. Exactly. And I guess the other point on this, it was, a a marquee game for them. The red bandana game was a big game for them. Those guys were playing to win. And not that Michigan State was playing to lose or playing not to win or whatever. But again, in college football, especially these kind of games, they're tough games, right? Like, and these are two teams, frankly, that I think are evenly matched in terms of talent, in terms of where they are from the market standpoint. I guess I'm weird. I'm not really that upset. I don't know. Maybe I'm the weird one. Well, I'm realizing this show is going to be a very long show, which is fine. There's no problem. It's no problem. But I do actually have to use the bathroom. So usually these shows are not this long, but we got a lot to get to. So I'm going to be right back. I did just see Aaron Judge hit a home run a little bit ago, and Jazz Chisholm just hit a pop out in the inning. So the Yankees are in it, but also the Miami Marlins are killing them. So I'll be right back, and we're going to talk more college football. Okay, so stay right there. Don't move. All right, don't physically. Do not move. I'll be right back. All right. All right, we're back. We're back, and the Orioles are still up 2-1, unfortunately. But I do have a few storylines here in college football. Not too much, just because, again, I didn't really get a good chance to watch most of these games, other than just a few. The biggest thing to me, at least, in terms of stories, was Michigan. I mean, all credit to Michigan. This Spartan fan didn't think they were going to win this game, and I don't think most people who were watching the game didn't think they were going to win this game. Michigan, with an upset win at home, mind you, at least, they just ran all over poor USC, and it wasn't like the entire game. Like, it wasn't like they blew them out or anything like that. I mean, it was a close game. The entire second half, they were a no-show. They didn't have a first down until the last drive of the game. And, like, then they just win. They were just like, okay, you know what? We're done playing with our food. We're going to win. And they did. So, USC, I guess, like, what do you even do from here? It's not like they had a bad game. It's just you just lose. And look, credit to Michigan for finding a way to win a game like this, because that's a massive win for them and their playoff odds for sure. And frankly, some of potentially their conference odds. But I don't know how long it's going to last, I guess. Alex Orji threw just 12 times, 32 total yards, no touchdowns. I don't think that this strategy will work universally. It might work against most opponents. Like Michigan's got Minnesota next week. This probably would work against Minnesota. Like this will probably be able to. They probably won't have to worry about this against Minnesota. But once you get to the Ohio States, once you get into those playoff games potentially, yeah, I don't know how well this is going to work. And frankly, I don't know how well it barely worked against USC. So it's going to be really tough to, have this be the consistent game plan. But if I'm Michigan, just keep doing this until it doesn't work. like you're clearly not there at the quarterback position because, Davis Warren stinks and Alex Orji is not good. So I would just say go for it. just start. Just keep doing. Just keep this game plan. Yeah, we play the wait. If we were the second wild card, wouldn't we play the top wild card team? We would play the third wild card team plays the division winner, the worst division winner. So that would be, if we end up with the third wild card spot, we would end up against the Astros, I believe. Could be wrong. I'd have to look at it again, and we'll talk about that in just a minute here. But yeah, so I guess credit to Michigan. And people say I'm too mean to Michigan. People say I'm too mean. I'm being nice. I'm being very nice. Illinois also. This was a little out of order here, but Illinois overtime victory over Nebraska. It's an upset win. I don't think most people expected Dylan Raiola to lose this game for Nebraska. Well, not that he lost them the game, but just the fact that it was Dylan Raiola losing the game to Illinois. I don't know a single human being on Illinois' team. I mean, just like looking at their box score, Luke Atmeyer, I guess, is their quarterback. I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. Credit to Illinois. They basically my whole life have never been good at football. But this year they certainly seem to have figured something out. So I'm sure it's very exciting for the 30 Illini fans that are out there, but they're out there. So yeah, good win for Illinois. And a little bit of a shocking loss for Nebraska. I do think Matt Rule probably is still their guy anyway. I mean, there's no reason to say there's some concern for that or anything like that. But I'm just making a point that, if you're upset with Matt Rule as a Nebraska fan, I think you got to relax, at least as of right now. Tennessee gets the win over Oklahoma. I think this Tennessee team could be a very scary team in the playoffs. They are really solid overall. Nico Iliamaluluvulu is quite the team, quite the quarterback. 13 for 21, 194 yards and a touchdown. It's not blowing you out of the water or anything, but solid stuff. Solid stuff overall, and it just seemed like a really good unit. They've continually found ways to win against pretty, before they were playing Chattanooga, but this is a good win, no doubt about it. I think I would definitely put some stock. Sorry for yawning here. I definitely put some stock into Tennessee, no doubt. I would at least. And then I gotta mention, because I'm a Colorado hater, I gotta mention they did win a game. So good for Colorado. You managed to fluke one out. You beat Baylor. I still have no respect for you as a team and as an organization because you're Colorado and Deion Sanders is a joke and he's a con artist. But you managed to win. So you live to see another day if you're Deion. Now, as for who they play next, I'm actually curious. Who do they play next? UCF. Yeah, I mean, gonna be a 3:30 game. I'm gonna be a big UCF fan. I'll just say that. I mean, overall, look at the rest of their schedule. I mean, Kansas State, Utah is probably their toughest game. Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm yawning. And Oklahoma State, that could be a tough game as well. But overall, I mean, you're playing in the Big 12, so most of the Big 12 is dead at this point. So. Tigers finished the second wild card. They'd be in the 5th seed. Yeah, okay. So that's what I was saying. The second seed plays the top wild card team. It's the top wild card team. Top wild card team against the second wild card team, because that's how it used to be when there's 2 wild card teams. And then the third wild card team plays the lowest division winner. That's true, actually. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it'd be a rematch of the 2014 series against the Orioles. That's crazy. I didn't even think about that. Boy, that's wild. I mean, literally no player from either team, I think, is still on the teams. Like, I don't think there's a single one. Because, like Manny Machado. Is Manny Machado on that Orioles team? And I know Jonathan Scope was on that Orioles team. Trumbo. Anthony Trumbo, or whatever his first name was. And that was obviously I guess you had Verlander and Miggy. Victor Martinez, I think, was still on that team. I could be wrong about that. That could be that might have been singles Victor Martinez. That was when Victor Martinez was just sort of slapping the ball and not doing much in terms of power. I could be wrong on that though. That was a long time ago. All right, cut me some slack. And then I want to talk about this college or the AP poll really quick. Just breaking down some of the movement. Tennessee moves up to the number 5 spot. Ole Miss down to 6. Miami moves up to 7. Oregon up to 8. Penn State up to 9. Utah up to 2 to 10. Missouri drops 4 spots. I guess they must have lost. I don't know who they played. Who did they play? They didn't lose. Oh, okay. They almost lost to Vandy. Okay, so that's why they dropped. Michigan jumps up 6 spots, so that's definitely deserved, I think. USC drops a couple. LSU jumps up. Louisville jumps up. Notre Dame goes up. Clemson jumps 4. Iowa State. Illinois jumps up 5 spots. They're now 19. They definitely deserve it. Oklahoma State drops 6 because of their loss against Utah, where they got blown out, but doesn't look like a blowout. Oklahoma drops 6 spots. Kansas State drops 10 spots. Jeez, what happened to them? Oh, they lost to BYU. Well, that'll do it. That'll do it. And Texas A&M jumps back into the top 25, or jumps up in the top 25. And Boise State makes it to the top 25. I love Boise State. They got the blue field. They got one of the coolest logos in football, or college football, I should say. So yeah, cool stuff. Overall, not too much there. Now, as far as a look ahead here into week 5, listen. All right, listen. I already talked about Michigan State, Iowa State. Iowa State. Ohio State. That game is actually at 7:30 on Peacock. ESPN needs to update it. It's wrong. Wrong. It's not at 7 p.m. I would just say, yeah, I mean, you don't have to watch that game. Yeah, you don't really have to watch that game. But the big games of the week for me, number one is going to be Georgia Alabama at 7:30. That is going to be a barn burner. That if I wasn't a Michigan State fan, I mean, the Ohio State game might be off very quickly, or at least on a second screen. But the Georgia Alabama game, that is going to be must see TV. Finally, we get a really good matchup here in late September. That should be good. Illinois Penn State could be a really fun game as well. That's on NBC. See if James Franklin does another oopsie. That'd be kind of funny. Spoiler alert, he will. Outside of that, Oklahoma Auburn, the 3:30 slot on ABC, that might be some. I mean, Auburn is kind of bad, so it's just take it or leave it. Louisville Notre Dame, that could be a fun game. That's on Peacock at 3:30. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, that's at noon on ESPN. Again. And the big noon game on Fox is Minnesota at Michigan. Probably a low-scoring game. I would not recommend that game. It probably is going to be ugly, but Michigan's probably going to win it. And Ole Miss at Kentucky at Ole Miss. That's a noon ABC game. But actually a pretty decent week of college football. Could have some really nice matchups. Could have some good games. But yeah, Georgia, Alabama, that's the big game. That's the big key to watch out for. So good stuff. All right. Okay, look. I know we've been sort of adding. We've been sort of adding it in. Now we're going to focus on it. The Detroit Tigers are for real. All right? This is not a joke. This is not a drill. The Detroit Tigers are a real playoff team. At this point, if they collapse and fall apart, it would be an absolute disaster of a season. It would be a complete failure to not make the playoffs at this point. The fact is, they are playing like the best team in baseball right now. Like, they are playing with a level of swagger and a level of just an air of confidence that it doesn't matter what the situation is, they will beat you. They will find a way to win games. This past week was absolutely nuts. They sweep the Royals, which really catapults them. They win the 3-game set on the road against Baltimore. And then today, middle of the afternoon, had to change the start time due to some weather. They go out and they shut down. It wasn't technically a shutout, but practically it was a shutout against the Rays 2-1. They got another chance tomorrow to win yet another series. By the way, their last series loss was at the beginning of the month against the San Diego Padres on the road, in a series that they frankly very well could have won, right? Like they were up. Well, the game that they blew was, I believe, the second game of it where they were up like 5 or 6-0 or something like that. Something crazy that they ended up blowing a lead. And they didn't end up losing the series. And it's funny, like at that point I was like, oh man, that might have just buried us, because now we still gotta go on the road to Oakland, and it just didn't. After that, it was just like smooth sailing. Like everything was coming up Tigers. But like now we're sitting plus a half a game in the second wild card spot. Baltimore is playing a close game here with New York. It's 2-1 Baltimore, but New York's got a runner on second and third, and that just looks like there's a double play. Okay, so now they got the runner on third with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th, but that's the tying run at third base for the Yankees. So that the inning's still alive for them. Anyway, I wanted to give something of a shout out to the contributors in the pitching staff. And I just, if you're not a Tigers fan and you came across this, I want you to try to identify who some of these human beings are. Tyler Holton, Ty Madden, Brendan Hanafy, Sean Gunther, Will Vest, Brant Herter, Jason Foley, I got even more guys. Let's see. Even more guys. Let's pull up more names. Bo Brisky, Cater Montero, Shelby Miller, rest in peace. He got DFA'd. Brian Sammons. I don't know if I already mentioned him. Who are these people? Like these people, these random bullpen pitchers just show up and 3.62 ERA, 2.05 ERA, 2.61 ERA, 3.22 ERA, just 2.93 ERA, 3.68 ERA, 30 strikeouts, 60 strikeouts. What, huh? Who the heck are these people? It is unexplainable. It is absolutely unexplainable. But right now, this is the best bullpen in baseball. Might be the best pitching staff in baseball, period. Which is crazy because I don't know if you remember, we sold at the deadline. And we didn't just sell, we sold primarily pitchers, right? Like, we sold Jack Flaherty and we sold Andrew Chafin. And before that, last year, or this offseason, we didn't re-sign Eduardo Rodriguez. And yet we still have one of the best pitching staffs. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, I was just going through the pitchers. He wasn't in the bullpen. I just chose him because he's another one who just came out of nowhere. And on top of all that, Jackson Jobe, the number one pitching prospect in baseball, gets called up, and he's going to be pitching in the bullpen. And this is a cat who, in any other draft, very well could have gone 1-1. And he was tearing it up in the minor leagues. He only had a couple of starts, I believe, in AAA, but they thought he was ready. So he's going to come in, and I think he's going to be an absolute stud. If the Brian Sammonses and Sean Gunthers of the world are any sort of note, I think Jackson Jobe is going to fit right in. I think he is going to immediately be an impact pitcher for this team, especially with the way Chris Fetter is able to develop these guys and put them in spots and get them to just do the right things. It's it's complete insanity that this pitching staff is as good as it is. I think everybody, myself included, thought that after the trade deadline, the pitching was finally going to come to reality because the pitching had always really been good all year, but the pitching was going to come to reality. We were losing guys, so it makes sense. You're going to eventually it's going to be over, and the pitching will kind of come back to reality. And it just didn't. It didn't. And even weirder, it got better. It got better. And on the other side of it, I got to talk Parker Meadows, because Parker Meadows is one of those guys that at the beginning of the season, if I were to tell you in the month of May, if I were to tell you Parker Meadows is going to be an instrumental part of this offense, he's going to be batting leadoff every day, and he's going to be one of your best hitters. And frankly, as of just the way things are going, one of the best hitters in baseball, you would think I was crazy, but I'm not. Parker Meadows on the season has a 1.7 ERA, a 2.34 average, 8 home runs, and a 103 OPS. Parker Meadows is currently an above league average hitter. Like that. What? Let me paint you a picture. All right. Parker Meadows' numbers through May 6th of this year. You ready? It's ugly. He had 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, an 0.96 average, and a 443 OPS. Not on base percentage, OPS. Since coming back on July the 5th, and then he went down a little bit. He went down for a little under a month with an injury after that. But hold on. Okay, enough. No more baseball. Here we go. Okay, that's not what I meant. Since coming back, here we go. Since coming back on July 5th, all the way through today, or all the way through yesterday, or not yesterday, the game on Sunday, because I guess it hadn't added today's game. Parker Meadows has had 6 home runs, 24 RBIs. He's batting .291 with an 844 OPS. Night and freaking day. The fact that he has become a positive WAR player when he started the season batting .096 is amazing. Amazing. it's credit to our hitting development team in AAA and then in at the major league level. And it's credit to him as just personally that he was able to figure out what was wrong and get it right and become a everyday really gosh darn good player. Like just overall a good player. But the thing is, when you just look at those numbers just by themselves, like you would think, okay, well, even if, he is playing well, right? It's not like there's got to be somebody carrying. There really isn't. Like there really isn't any one guy. Like Riley Green is the leading home run hitter. He's got 24 home runs. You got no guys with more than 25 home runs on the team. Kerry Carpenter has 17 home runs, and he's, the second best guy on the team. And this is another good point. Trey Sweeney needs a shout out also, since originally when we got him, people were complaining about him. In fact, we traded Flaherty, but Baez went down. Sweeney has already outperformed. Exactly right. Trey Sweeney has looked way better both in the field and as a hitter than Javi Baez ever did. And this is when it mattered, right? So I don't want to hear about, there was a streak where he was batting 3. I don't want to hear about that. This is when none of it mattered, when none of the pressure was really on. Javi Baez wasn't there. Pressure is on Trey Sweeney, and he's performing. He's performing really, really solidly. Let me see if I can, just looking at his numbers, batting .242, he's got a .712 OPS, 4 homers. He's got 23 total hits, and 6 of them are doubles, and 17 RBIs. Like, that's another, like, he was a guy who, oh, wow, this is like, he's a career minor leaguer. He's got no, it's like, so if you trust your guys, if you trust your GM for talent evaluation, for draft picks, for even free agency, like, he's going to find these kind of guys. He's going to find these kind of players. And even the Wenzel Perez's of the world, a guy who basically out of nowhere is having a really decent season. Like today, he had the clutch double. That was what scored the 2 runs that won you the game, right? Colt Keith, having a really solid rookie year. Does he need to improve? Yeah. But he's an above league average hitter right now. Batting .260, he's got 13 home runs, 59 RBIs. And the OPS is not anything pretty. It's .688. It's not good. Not for a lot of power. But that will come for Colt Keith, I think, as time goes. And even the Matt Vierlings of the world having another solid season. Just an everyday guy, 140 games for him, and he's had 130 hits. 27 of them, or 16 of them have been for home runs. 27 of them for doubles. And above league average OPS, above league average hitter in general. Like Matt Vierling is the elder statesman of the team. Matt Vierling and Jake Rogers are the elder statesmen of the team. Are either of those guys, lights out amazing superstars? No, certainly not Jake Rogers. Matt Vierling is maybe closer to that than not, but he's not one either. But it's this ragtag bunch of guys that have clawed and climbed their way into being a genuine threat, I think, in the playoffs. Like, to the point where if I'm any other team going into this playoff series in round 1, I don't think I want to be matched up against this team. Like, this, to make a football analogy, it's very similar to the way the Buccaneers were last year in the playoffs, where they were like, a full steam ahead kind of thing. And we saw that in the wild card round against the Eagles. But look, one of the other things that has been made of note is there was a certain team in the year 2006 that won, 85, 84 games, something like that. The St. Louis Cardinals. And nobody paid them really much mind. They kind of snuck into the playoffs. They stumbled in. They were a relatively young team. Some guy named Albert Pujols was on their team, but overall wasn't filled with superstars, right? They weren't the New York Yankees at that point. They went out, they played good baseball, they had good pitching, they had good defense, they were disciplined, and they played as a unit together. And they won the World Series. And everybody knows who they beat. If you don't know, it was the Tigers. Do I think that this team could do that? I really don't think so. I do think that, eventually things will catch up to speed. But honestly, it's hard to know what the limit is for this team. Because at every stage where I think, okay, they're going to lose this series, let's just, all right, just as long as you survive. It's like, okay, just as long as you don't get swept by the Orioles and you beat the Orioles. Okay, just as long as you don't get swept or really get blown out by the Royals and you sweep the Royals. Or just as long as you don't, get destroyed by the Orioles and you win the series. I mean, how many times is it got to happen until, like, how many times are we going to get to the point where it's like, okay, now we're in a 7-game series and it's the ALCS and it's anybody's game? Because I'm just saying, it's like defense. Pitching travels. And pitching is what wins you games in the postseason. Because all of a sudden, there's not going to be games that you're winning 10-1. That's just not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. There's not going to be the, there's not going to be those kind of like 9-8, 12-14. Those kind of games aren't really going to happen. You're going to get the 3-2s. You're going to get the 5-4, the 3-2, or the 2-1. And maybe occasionally you'll get a 6-3 or something like. You're not going to get a lot of blowouts in the postseason in baseball. Anybody who's watched playoff baseball will tell you there's very few times where there's absolute blowouts. And you look at the games that the Tigers have played, and I mean, they haven't been blowing teams out. A lot of these games feel very much so like playoff games. I mean, to the Royals. I mean, you win 7-6. I believe that was an extra innings game. Or one of them was an extra innings game. I can't remember which one. Then a 3-1 win over the Royals. Then a 4-2 win over the Royals. A 6-4 win over the Orioles. 4-3 over the Orioles. 2-1 today against the Rays. Then, going back even further, you had a 1-0 win at home against the Orioles. You had a 4-2 win at home against the Orioles. Even against the Rockies, you were winning 7-4. And then you even lost games 2-4. Like, you're not scoring a billion runs. But that's the kind of games that you're going to have to win. So, again, do I think that this is like the Tigers are going to go on this miraculous one and they're going to win the World Series? I really don't, if I'm just being perfectly honest. However, if you were to pick the team based on who's the hottest team, who's the most, on fire team right now, hard not to go with the Tigers. Hard not to. All right. There you go. So the Orioles are now up 3-1, unfortunately. So I don't think we're going to get that last wild card spot. Or that top wild card spot, I should say. Okay. So. All right. So, let me just make sure I get things ready here. All right. So, we are at that point in the show. It's finally time for everybody's favorite part. You already know. It is time for the picks. Try to turn it. I can barely hear it. Alright. That's probably good. I don't know. Hopefully that's good. Hopefully it's not too loud. So, last week, I actually managed to pull off the win. I had 9 wins. I got 9 right. Seth had just 7. And we're actually tied in the regular season record on the picks. Somehow. I don't know how that happened, but it is what it is. So, to get things started here, let's just jump right into it. Thursday Night Football, the Cowboys taking on the G-Men. Seth is taking the Cowboys. I'll take the Cowboys, but purely from a talent standpoint, it's ugly. That game is going to be so bad. I am not looking forward to it. It's going to be bad either way. It's not going to be a close, high-scoring game. It's not going to be a shootout. It's going to be either low-scoring garbage or it's going to be Cowboys blowing out the Giants. So, there's basically no scenario where anybody has any fun. So, yeah, I'll take the Cowboys. Ugly game. Not looking forward to it. Saints at the Falcons. Seth is taking the Saints in this one. I'm going to take the Birds. I think I think the Saints got humbled last week, and I think the Falcons had one stolen from under them. There were chances for them to win that game. Don't get me wrong, but I do think the Falcons are actually a really solid team, and the Saints, to me, feel a little fluky, especially with that win or that loss they just had against the Eagles. I think reality is going to have a say. Give me the birds of prey from Atlanta, the Falcons. The Bengals visiting Carolina, taking on the Panthers. Seth is taking the Bengals. I mean, there's no way, right? This has to be a Bengals win, right? I mean, it has to be. There's no way the Bengals lose this game. Now, if Andy Dalton is still quarterback, it could be interesting. I'm just saying it could be a lot closer than Bengals fans really want to admit, because the Bengals do not look good on defense, and Andy Dalton looked very good against the Raiders last week. But I guess, again, it's sort of a talent thing. I think that the Bengals are just too talented. I think they will pull off the win here and finally get themselves into the win column, albeit 1-3. So give me the Bengals to get the win. Rams at the Bears. Seth is taking the Rams. Man, this is tough. This is really, really tough. I'm going to go with the Bears. I think this will be the game that Caleb Williams finally gets it right. The injuries for the Rams are very high, although they are incredibly well coached. I do think that the Bears finally... Well, they're going to have to get it right at some point. I guess if they lose this game, then I think you got to really talk about Eberflus's job, because at that point, it's just getting ridiculous. It's just like, why are you even here, Matt Eberflus? What exactly is it that you do here, sir? That would be the question I would have. So, yeah, give me the Bears to get the win here. Vikings at the Packers. Seth is taking the Vikings to get the win here. I think the Pack is going to throw a little bit of reality at the Minnesota Vikings. So give me the Pack to get the win here. They basically always seem to beat the Vikings, at least in my experience. It seems that way. I think that Sam Darnold will kind of snap back to reality at some point. So give me the Pack to get the win. Jags at the Texans. Seth is taking the Texans. Yeah, I'm going to have to agree here. Yeah, I mean, the Jags are just terrible. Trevor Lawrence is awful. Doug Peterson probably is going to be without a job very soon. I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville. It's a complete mess. They just don't really have the talent. They don't have the quarterback. And Houston, for as kind of rough as they have been, I do think that they have both of those. So I think they're going to get the win here. And I think it's going to be a get-right game for Houston after a rough loss to Minnesota this week. Steelers visiting the Colts in what I have described as the ugliest game of football you will ever see. Steelers is the pick for Seth. I don't know who to pick. This is so awful. I'm going to go with the Steelers. I think Anthony Richardson is not that good. He will air the ball out, and he will take a lot of risks. But the problem with Anthony Richardson is he can't do the little things. He can do some of the big things sometimes, but largely he cannot do the little things. And that is what is going to be the difference in this kind of game. Steelers are well coached. Justin Fields has looked solid, and the defense has looked stellar, as it always does with the Steelers. So I think they're going to win this game. I think it's going to be ugly. I feel bad for anybody who's going to be watching this game. So give me the Steelers. Good win. Broncos at the Jets. This is my hatred matchup. I hate both of these teams. Seth is taking the Jets, though. Yeah, I'll take the Jets as well. I think Bo Nix had his little fake win. I don't know how he beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't even hate Bo Nix. I mostly hate Sean Payton. But oh gosh, this is really like a lose-lose for me, because it's like I gotta either watch Aaron Rodgers get a fake ass win against a terrible team like he did against the Patriots, or I gotta watch Sean Payton be successful. I don't like either of those options, so I guess I'll just choose death, but ultimately I'll go with Seth and I'll take the Jets as well. Eagles at the Buccaneers. Seth is taking the Eagles. I'm gonna take the Bucs. The Eagles just look out of sorts. Sirianni's just a cartoon character at this point. I don't know what Nick Sirianni even does. I feel like I've said this phrase a million times. What exactly is it that you do here, Nick Sirianni? They very well could have lost that game against the Saints there and really set their season behind in catastrophic ways. The Bucs, terrible loss. I think they're going to bounce back. I think Baker is going to bounce back, get the win. This is going to be a playoff rematch in the wild card, and I think the Bucs are going to get the better of it. So give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Commanders at the Cardinals. This is actually an interesting game to me. Let's see what Seth is going with. He's going with the Cardinals to win this game. This I think, yeah, I'll go with the Cardinals as well. I think this is a bounce back game for them, offensively especially. The Commanders' defense is not nearly as good as the Lions' defense is, so I think they're going to get a lot more Kyler Murray throwing the ball. You know, if you look at the anomaly in terms of the performances, the Lions game certainly could have been the anomaly for Kyler Murray. I think he gets a bounce back. He's going to be back at home. Hopefully a lot more hometown fans for him because the Lions fans took over. I don't know how many Commanders fans there are in Arizona, but probably not as many Lions fans. But either way, give me the Cardinals get the win here. Patriots at the 49ers. Seth is taking the 49ers. I am going to concur. I feel like we've concurred on, like, most of these. I guess that's usually how it goes. Yeah, I mean, the 49ers are just too talented. I don't know what the plan is with New England and Drake May. I don't know why they don't just play him. I don't see what the point of him sitting behind Jacoby Brissett is, especially from a viewer standpoint. I would like to see your first-round quarterback play. At least with Minnesota, the only reason we're not seeing JJ play is because his leg fell off. So, yeah, give me the 49ers get the win. I just don't like the Patriots. They're just not good from a talent standpoint. They're a decently well-coached team, to be fair to Rod Mayo, but I don't think they're good enough to win this game. So, yeah, give me the 49ers. And a bounce back game for them. Chiefs at the Chargers. Seth is taking his Chargers. He believes. One problem, Seth. I do not believe. Yeah, Chiefs are going to win this game. Their defense is too good. They are they're just going to suffocate the Chargers. I don't know if Justin Herbert is going to be playing. I don't know if he's going to be healthy. And even if he is, I don't think that the Chargers are going to let him score a lot of points. Chargers are in a bit of a rebuild. They're trying to sort of restart that roster around Justin Herbert, who could be a good quarterback. Problem is he keeps getting hurt. And eventually it might just be kind of who he is. But either way, regardless of any of that, I do think the Chiefs are just a better team. The defense is just too good, and their offense is too clutch when they need it. So give me the Chiefs to get the win. Browns at the Raiders. This is a nightmare game. Wow. I am not looking forward to having any... I'm not going to watch this game, but if it is on, I will be very sad. Seth is taking the Browns to win this. Yeah, I'll take the Browns. I'm not going to elaborate. I don't. These two teams stink. I wish this game would just go away. Bills at the Ravens on Sunday night. Oh, Sunday night. This is a really good matchup. I think this is going to be an absolutely really good game. Seth is taking the Bills. I am going to agree, but I do think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. It's two teams, the quarterbacks that love to run, love to make plays on their own, love to make plays on their feet. I think it's going to be a great game, probably game of the week. So I'll take the Bills, though, to get the win on the road. They're looking like potential Super Bowl contenders in the AFC, but not the first time we said that. So, yeah, give me the Bills to get the win. Titans at the Dolphins on Monday night. Seth is taking the Fins to get the win. This is a very, I don't think they anticipated this game looking this way, when it started. The Titans look absolutely lost. Will Levis stinks. But the problem is, Skylar Thompson got hurt, and Tim Boyle, I know him quite well, former Lion, he also stinks. So, this is just going to be an awful, awful game. But I think the talent will bail out Miami, so I'll take the Dolphins to get the win here. And finally, Monday Night Football, prime time, ESPN. Seth's taking the Lions over the Seahawks. And I will agree. Lions, Seahawks, I'm taking Detroit. I'm obviously biased. That goes without saying. But I think Detroit is just looking... They've had this game circled for a very long time. I think this is finally this. This will be the year that Detroit finally beats Seattle. I do think this is the case. Detroit's dealing with a lot of injuries. However, Seattle, I don't think they're really dealing with too many injuries, at least as far as I'm aware. I'm sure they are. But they also haven't really been all that tested as of late. This is going to be their toughest game yet. Another chance for a revenge game for Detroit. I feel like I've been saying this for like 4 years. For Detroit to get revenge on the Seattle Seahawks. I think they finally get it done. I think they're ready. They're raring. Their defense is way better than it was last year, and I think they're going to contain Geno Smith. It might be a low-scoring game. This might be the game where the offense finally gets it going. I'm not really sure. With no Sam Laporta, it's going to be difficult, but I do think that the Lions come away with the win. It will be probably very stressful, but give me Detroit to get the win. So rounding it out, here we go. Cowboys, Giants, we are both taking the Cowboys. Saints, Falcons, Seth is taking the Saints. I am taking the Falcons. Bengals, Panthers, we are both taking the Bengals. Rams, Bears, Seth is taking the Rams. I am taking the Bears. Vikings, Packers, Seth is taking the Vikings. I am taking the Pack. Jaguars, Texans, we are both taking the Texans. Steelers, Colts, we're both taking the Steelers. Broncos, Jets, we are both taking the Jets. Eagles, Buccaneers, Seth is taking the Eagles. I am taking the Buccaneers. Commanders, Cardinals, we're both taking the Cardinals. Patriots, 49ers, we're both taking the 49ers. Chiefs, Chargers, Seth is taking the Chargers. I am taking the Chiefs. Browns, Raiders, we're both taking the Browns. Bills, Ravens, we're both taking the Bills. Titans, Dolphins, we're both taking the Dolphins. And Seahawks, Lions, we are both taking the Lions. And those are your Week 4 picks. All right. And that's that. That's the end. Very long show. Very long show. So I do apologize for that. I mean, I don't really apologize that much, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So with that, though, so this Saturday won't be live for the Michigan State game. That'll be a tailgate game for me, so I'm not going to be live streaming the game, so just keep that in mind. I do plan on streaming the Lions Monday night game, so there won't be a stream on Sunday, obviously. Will be a stream on Monday. So keep an eye out for that. Potentially, I mean, barring the circumstance, if it's a win and you're in situation for the Tigers, we might, I'm thinking about, depending on what day it is, depending on how it works with schedule, because I have a little bit of a busy schedule this weekend. If that's the situation, then I will, stream that game. If it's Sunday's game, which I hope it is not, but if it is that game, then we'll stream that game. Keep an eye, if the Tigers do make the playoffs, which by next week's show, we'll know one way or the other. I do plan on doing live streams of those games. That might be a little tough because that's going to be a lot of live streams a lot of the time. So, but it is what it is. That's just how it's going to go in the postseason. So keep an eye out for those. That should be a lot of fun if we can get some live baseball reactions because I love baseball. I don't ever really get to call baseball. The only games I've really gotten to call, at least on this channel, are football games. So it'd be really great to be able to call more than just football. Because Lord knows we're not going to be able to call the Pistons in a very long time or Michigan State basketball in a very long time. So yeah. And I'm not going to be able to call hockey games. That's going to be too tough. I'll do live reactions if the Red Wings make the playoff, but I'm not going to be able to call those games. That's going to be too tough. I'm just gonna live react and we're just gonna hang out and chat. And it's gonna be fun. Anyway, so keep an eye out for that. Hopefully the Tigers do make the playoffs. Keep an eye out for the playoff schedule, and then we'll figure out how it's gonna go. If there are games on Tuesday, basically what I'll have to do, yes, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Basically, that's what I'll say. So with that, appreciate everybody for stopping by, hanging out. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're gonna be live every Tuesday for live shows. Talking on all things sports. So, yeah. Have a good night, everybody. I'll upload these clips for tomorrow in case you missed anything in the show. So, have a great night and have a great rest of your week. And I will see you all at the earliest on Monday night. See you later, guys. Goodbye. See ya.